Something has been shifting inside you lately, hasn't it? You can't quite explain it, but the life that used to fit you suddenly feels too small. People you once connected with now feel distant. Conversations seem hollow, and places that once brought comfort now leave you uneasy. You wake up some mornings with a strange heaviness in your chest, not from sadness but from pressure, as if something within you is trying to break through. You feel restless, unable to settle for what used to satisfy. You can sense it, something unseen is rearranging your world. It began quietly. A few small disruptions, texts left unanswered, doors that wouldn't open no matter how hard you tried. Opportunities you thought were yours suddenly slipped away, and even your prayers seemed to echo into silence. At first, you questioned yourself. Did I do something wrong, you wondered? Why does it feel like everything is falling apart? But the truth is, what feels like collapse is often the first sign of construction. Heaven doesn't always announce new beginnings with fireworks. Sometimes it starts with endings. Your relationships may be shifting. The people who once understood you now look at you as if you've changed, and maybe you have. You can no longer fake smiles in places where your soul no longer belongs. The things you tolerated before now feel unbearable. You sense there's more to your life than the routine, and that realization has made you restless. Nights stretch longer. Your thoughts run deeper. You can't silence the whisper that says, there's more. And then comes the inner pressure, like being pulled from the inside out. You can feel your old identity cracking, your patterns being tested. You try to hold on to what you know, but something divine is pushing you to release control. You can't explain it to anyone when you just know that your spirit is awake, and once that happens, nothing feels the same again. You might think you're lost. You might think you're drifting, but in reality, you're being positioned. Heaven is not punishing you, it's preparing you. The disconnection, the discomfort, the confusion. These are not signs of abandonment, but signs of awakening. You are being gently separated from everything that cannot go where your soul is meant to rise. There's a reason you've been feeling misunderstood lately. You've been speaking a language that others no longer recognize, because you're being tuned to a higher frequency. You don't fit in anymore because you were never meant to. And deep down, you know that. That's why you've stopped trying to explain yourself. That's why you've begun to crave quiet moments, because only in silence can you hear what heaven has been whispering all along. The pressure you feel isn't punishment, it's purpose pressing against the walls of your old life. Every disappointment, every closed door, every unanswered prayer, they are all part of a divine rearrangement. God is moving furniture in your soul, clearing out what's temporary to make room for what's eternal. And though it hurts, something inside you knows this pain has meaning. You can feel the stretching, the breaking, the discomfort of growth. You're not being destroyed, you're being remade. Every time something falls away, your spirit whispers, trust. You may not understand it now, but one day you'll look back and see that every loss was a lesson, every delay was divine timing, and every silence was heaven speaking in a language deeper than words. As the Spirit spoke through the prophet Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. You may feel weary now, but renewal is coming. You're not being stripped bare, you're being set free. You're not being forgotten, you're being refined. Every time you think you're breaking, heaven is actually molding you into something unshakable. And soon, you'll see why you couldn't stay where you were. You'll see why certain people had to leave. You'll see why peace had to come through separation, not connection. Because you're not being called to fit in. You're being called to rise. Listen if this resonates deep within you. If you've been feeling that inner stirring that words can't quite capture. Take this as your sign that heaven sees you. Don't ignore it. Don't silence it. Comment 888 below as a prophetic act symbol of divine alignment and new beginnings. And while you're here, like this message. Share it so that another soul who feels lost might understand they're not alone. And subscribe to stay connected to the flow of what heaven is doing in this season. If this word has spoken to your heart, you may also donate to help keep these messages reaching those who need them most. Something is awakening inside you. Something sacred, and this is not coincidence, it is divine timing. Your life is about to shift forever. Take a slow, deep breath, right here, in this very moment. Become aware of the weight of your body. Feel your feet against the floor, the rhythm of your heartbeat, the quiet inhale and exhale that has never left you. You have been living too high in your mind, overthinking, analyzing, planning. But now heaven is whispering, come back home to your body. You've been running so long that you forgot this body is holy ground. It carries the evidence of every tear, every trial, and every victory. When your spirit began to stir, your body felt it first, the restlessness, the tightness in your chest, the racing pulse at night. These weren't random symptoms, they were sacred signals. Heaven was knocking, asking you to notice. You are not just a soul traveling through flesh, you are a living sanctuary. Your body is not an enemy, it's an ally. It's where heaven and earth meet. The tingling in your hands, the weight in your chest, the sudden heat or trembling, all of it is energy shifting. Divine current flowing through the vessel God designed for His glory. You don't need to escape it, you need to inhabit it. For too long you've been taught that holiness means detachment, that spirituality is somewhere above, but real transformation begins when spirit and body agree. This is why your awakening feels physical, because the Spirit of God doesn't just visit you, He inhabits you. He is weaving Himself into your muscles, your breath, your heartbeat. When the shaking comes, don't resist it. When you feel the fire inside, don't run. When your body trembles during prayer or stillness, don't label it strange. It's heaven aligning with your humanity. The energy of purpose always meets resistance first in the flesh. It's how divine expansion feels inside a mortal frame. The apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, chapter 6, verse 19. Do you not know that your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. This is your practice now, to return to your body again and again until peace becomes natural. When anxiety rises, bring your hand to your heart. Feel the warmth under your palm. Whisper, I am safe. When your mind spirals, press your feet into the ground. Feel the earth beneath you. Whisper, I am held. When the noise of the world overwhelms, close your eyes and listen for the hum of your breath. Whisper, I am here. That's not just mindfulness. That's worship. That's alignment. That's what it means to embody divine presence. Every breath is a prayer. Every heartbeat is a reminder that God has not abandoned you. You do not need to climb a mountain to find Him. He's already living in you, breathing through you, feeling through you. Let this be your sacred rhythm. Breathe in awareness. Breathe out surrender. Breathe in gratitude. Breathe out control. You don't have to perform for peace. You don't have to chase signs or wait for thunderous revelation. Sometimes heaven shows up in the smallest act of presence, in the stillness between breaths. Remember, your body has carried you through every battle. It has survived what tried to break it. It deserves tenderness, not judgment. When you honor it, you honor the one who created it. So today, return. Return to your senses. Return to your breath. Return to the quiet intelligence of your body, where the Spirit dwells and guides you toward balance. Don't rush this moment. Sit in it. Feel what you feel without trying to fix it. This is where transformation begins, not in escaping the human experience, but in embracing it as sacred. Practice this every day. Breathe, notice, listen, trust. You are learning how to live again, not just in your mind, but in the holy space of your being. Heaven is teaching you how to walk slowly, breathe deeply, and dwell fully in the temple He has formed. Your breath is your bridge between the seen and unseen. Every inhale draws in divine life. Every exhale releases what no longer serves your becoming. This rhythm, simple yet sacred, is how you synchronize with heaven's heartbeat. Keep returning to it again and again until peace becomes your natural language. The body remembers what the mind forgets. Each breath, each stretch, each moment of awareness restores the harmony between your spirit and flesh. You are not broken, you are being rewritten by grace in real time. The more present you are, the clearer heaven's whisper becomes within you. Let your presence be your prayer. You don't need fancy words, you only need honesty. When you stand still and truly feel, the Spirit moves freely through you. Every quiet heartbeat becomes an altar. Every breath a living hymn of surrender and trust. This is where transformation takes root, not in striving, but in stillness. Rest in your breath. Feel the sacred pulse that never stops. You are home now, not just in your soul, but in your skin. Heaven dwells here in you, through you, and as you breathe, everything changes. You have noticed it, haven't you? The silence growing louder around you. Friends grow distant, conversations fade, and even your usual comforts no longer comfort you. You are walking through what feels like a season of isolation. But this is not punishment. This is preparation. What feels like loneliness is often heaven's most private classroom. When God wants to transform you, He will separate you, not to harm you, but to reintroduce you to yourself, to your calling, to your Creator. You may look around and see empty spaces where laughter used to live, but those spaces are being filled with divine presence. This silence, though heavy, is sacred. It's the kind of silence that births clarity. Every chosen one passes through the hidden place, the chamber where light and shadow wrestle, where your soul detoxes from noise and your mind begins to hear heaven again. You might cry more often here. You might question everything. You might even wonder if you've lost your fire. But the truth is, your fire is being refined. God is not absent. He's whispering in a lower volume, inviting you to lean closer. Do not mistake stillness for abandonment. Heaven is rebuilding you in secret. While others see nothing happening, angels are realigning your path. Every unanswered call, every canceled plan, every sudden disconnection is a sign divine isolation is in progress. You are being untangled from distraction so that revelation can find you clean and ready. The prophet Elijah spoke as recorded in the first book of Kings, chapter 19, verse 12. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. That whisper, that's where you are now, in the gentle, quiet place where God teaches you how to hear His voice without chaos. He strips away the noise so that you learn the sound of peace. You've spent years chasing signs and confirmations, but this season isn't about hearing more, it's about hearing clearly. Isolation exposes what noise once covered, the doubts you never dealt with, the wounds you tried to ignore, they rise to the surface now. Don't run from them. Sit with them. Let the Spirit show you what needs healing. You are not weak for feeling empty. You are brave for facing what silence reveals. This is where the oil forms the invisible anointing that no one claps for. It's in the nights you cry and still choose faith. It's in the mornings you get up, even when your strength feels gone. Heaven measures greatness by endurance, not applause. Every tear in this season waters the soil of your future harvest. Don't rush out of the quiet. Don't crave crowds when heaven has called you to solitude. This chamber is where your discernment sharpens. You'll begin to sense who truly belongs in your next chapter, not by appearance, but by spirit. You'll know peace when it's real and distance when it's divine. God removes noise before he releases power. That's why the silence feels so deep, it's the calm before revelation. Soon, you'll realize that this lonely space was never empty. It was filled with unseen activity. Heaven has been constructing your next season while the world thought you disappeared. Now breathe deeply and let that truth settle. You're not forgotten. You're being hidden. Hidden. Not to be lost, but to be launched. Every hidden season ends with emergence, and when you rise, you will not rise the same. Before you move on, take a moment and type, "I'm still." That's not just a comment, it's a declaration. You're telling heaven, "I will not fight this silence anymore." You're saying, even in stillness, "I trust you." When you type it, let your spirit align with the peace that passes understanding. Let your fingers become instruments of surrender. Because being still doesn't mean being stuck. It means you're standing exactly where heaven needs you to be while the unseen work completes itself. In stillness, strength returns. In silence, clarity comes. The world fears quiet, but heaven births destiny in it. This is where your power gathers, where the noise of the world fades and the voice of God becomes unmistakable. Stay here until your inner storm calms. Stay until your own thoughts grow gentle enough to hear the whisper again. Your hidden season is not wasted. It's where your wings strengthen before flight. You will emerge soon, carrying a peace that cannot be shaken and a voice that carries weight because it has been trained by silence. When you type, "I'm still," you are not just writing words, you are responding to a divine invitation. You are telling heaven, "I trust the process even when I don't see results." That simple phrase becomes a doorway where anxiety leaves and divine peace begins to enter your atmosphere. In saying, "I'm still," you declare that movement isn't always progress, and stillness isn't weakness. You acknowledge that God works most powerfully in unseen spaces. The moment you surrender through stillness, revelation begins to flow. Silence turns sacred, and heaven starts to speak with clarity that only peace can interpret. Something in you has begun to die, but not the kind of death the world fears. It's the holy ending of what no longer serves your destiny. The version of you that once needed validation, the one that chased approval, the one that lived for others' opinions, that self is fading. It hurts, yes. It confuses you, yes. But this, chosen one, is resurrection disguised as loss. Every divine transformation requires a burial. You can't carry the old you into the next dimension of calling. So heaven begins to strip away the layers, habits, attachments, false identities. It feels like everything is falling apart, but in truth, everything false is being peeled away so that truth can breathe. You're not losing yourself, you're meeting yourself. Sometimes the dying is quiet. It looks like not answering calls that drain you. It looks like deleting messages that reopen wounds. It looks like choosing peace instead of proving your worth. The world may call it changing, but heaven calls it becoming. What you thought was weakness is actually spiritual maturity beginning to bloom. As Jesus himself declared in the Gospel of John, chapter 12, verse 24, "Unless a grain of wheat falls into the earth and dies, It remains alone, but if it dies, it produces much fruit. That's you. You are the seed that has been buried, misunderstood, unseen, and underestimated. Yet deep in that darkness, divine growth is happening. Roots are forming where eyes cannot see. The soil of struggle is feeding the seed of purpose. You feel buried, but heaven says, you've only been planted. This is why certain doors closed. This is why the people who once understood you suddenly drifted away. You outgrew conversations that kept you small. You stopped explaining your worth to those who were never meant to value it. The moment you chose authenticity, everything false had to fall off. That's not rejection, it's refinement. This is your shedding season, and it's sacred. When God begins to renew you, He will first let the old self decay until you can no longer wear it comfortably. That's why you feel out of place in old rooms and restless in familiar routines. It's not boredom, it's spiritual displacement. Heaven is making sure you don't stay where you no longer belong. The people around you might not understand. They may say, "You've changed," and they'll be right. But what they don't see is that the fire of transformation is not for show, it's for survival. You can't go back to pretending anymore. The things that once satisfied now leave an ache because your soul has tasted purpose. Once you've seen truth, comfort feels like compromise. The Spirit is whispering, let it go. Let the old self rest. The more you resist this death, the longer resurrection waits. Don't fight the ending. Honor it. Hold a quiet funeral in your heart for every version of yourself that once fought just to be accepted. Thank that old self for surviving. Then release it, so the real you can emerge lighter, clearer, unafraid. You will feel moments of grief as parts of your identity dissolve. That's natural. Grief is not a sign you've lost something valuable. It's a sign that you valued something deeply. Even as your identity shifts, your essence remains the spark of divine life that no darkness can extinguish. And here's the beautiful paradox: every ending you experience in God is also an introduction to glory. You lose the mask, but gain clarity. You lose the noise, but find your voice. You lose false attachments, but discover divine alignment. Death is simply heaven's way of creating room for new life. When you feel empty, whisper to yourself, something new is growing here. When you feel lost, remind your spirit, I am being redirected, not rejected. When you feel forgotten, tell your heart, heaven hides what it values most. The world celebrates beginnings, but heaven celebrates endings because endings mean transformation is working. Now, I want you to anchor this moment with a prophetic act. Comment 7777 below. Do it not as superstition, but as symbolism. The number 7777 represents divine completion, holy renewal, and perfect alignment. When you write it, you're declaring, I'm done fighting my becoming. I'm ready for the new. You're saying to heaven, I trust the burial because I believe in resurrection. Let this act be personal. When you type it, imagine laying your old self at the feet of God, every fear, every past version that no longer fits. Let this number mark a spiritual milestone, the day you stopped resisting change and started embracing rebirth. The grave you fear is the garden God designed. The dark soil that covers you now is the same ground that will feed your rise. You will not stay buried. You will bloom wildly, beautifully, and beyond recognition. So let the old self go. Let what's over stay over. You don't need to resurrect what heaven already replaced. Trust the silence. Trust the shedding. Trust the soil. Because after death always comes dawn. And when light breaks this time, you'll shine in ways the old you never could. You are not ending, you are emerging, and soon, even you won't recognize the brilliance rising from your own ashes. There are seasons when transformation happens so quietly that even you forget it's taking place. You wake up one day and realize you no longer think the same, react the same, or crave what you once did. This is not emptiness, it's evidence. Heaven has been working behind the curtain of your daily life, rearranging your spirit while the world wasn't watching. Imagine a butterfly inside its cocoon. From the outside, it looks motionless, ordinary. But inside, there's movement, pressure, and divine construction. The old form is dissolving so that wings can form. That's what's happening to you. The discomfort, the waiting, the silence, it's not stagnation. It's sacred metamorphosis. You may not see it, but you are being rebuilt. Piece by piece, thought by thought, God is shaping you into something that carries more grace, more wisdom, more weight in the spiritual realm. The habits that used to hold you are breaking. The fears that once defined you are losing their voice. Even your posture is changing. You're standing taller, breathing deeper, living slower. And while you feel unseen, heaven celebrates every unseen step. Every time you choose faith over frustration, you are strengthening your wings. Every time you forgive when you could have fought, you're growing your crown. It may not look dramatic, but this is how divine construction works: quiet, steady, unstoppable. Heaven speaks clearly through the words in Deuteronomy chapter 31, verse 6. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. That promise still breathes over you today. You haven't been forgotten in your cocoon, you've been protected. The darkness surrounding you isn't punishment, it's insulation. It's where God hides his masterpieces until they're ready for light. Think about a seed underground. The soil is heavy, the space is tight, but it's necessary. If the soil didn't cover it, the seed would never sprout. Likewise, if you weren't hidden right now, you'd never grow strong enough to handle your next season. So instead of asking, when will it end, start asking, what is heaven building in me right now? You are not waiting for transformation. You are the transformation. The evidence is already showing in small ways: your patience in pain, your peace amid uncertainty, your growing hunger for truth over distraction. These are the early signs of a new creature unfolding. So as you listen to this, let your heart open. Don't rush your process. You are being sculpted by invisible hands, shaped by love, stretched by purpose. One day, this quiet becoming will make sense. One day, you'll see why you had to wait, why you had to break, and why you had to believe when nothing made sense. If this message touches something deep inside you, if it feels like someone finally put words to what you couldn't explain, don't keep it to yourself. Like this message, not for vanity, but as an act of gratitude. It tells heaven, yes, I received this. Share it with someone who feels buried in silence. Someone who needs to be reminded that being hidden is not being forgotten. You never know whose midnight this word could turn into morning. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to stay connected to this flow of truth and light. Think of it as choosing to stay near the fire, because every word spoken here is part of that flame heaven is using to warm and awaken his people. If your heart feels stirred and you wish to take part in keeping this message alive, you can also donate, not as a transaction, but as participation in the movement of light. Your giving becomes like a ripple in a quiet pond, reaching places this voice alone cannot go. Every seed sown helps carry the message to souls still lost in their own cocoons. You see, transformation is never just personal, it's collective. When one light awakens, it sparks another. By sharing, by giving, by staying connected, you become part of heaven's chain reaction of awakening. You may feel small right now, but your obedience carries eternal weight. Each act of support, each amen, each share, each quiet prayer adds another brushstroke to the divine masterpiece God is painting through your life. Remember, the butterfly doesn't fight the cocoon, it trusts the process. And when the time is right, no force in the world can stop its emergence. Neither can anything stop yours. The darkness you're in now will soon testify that you were growing wings all along. So rest, trust. Stay connected to the light that feeds your spirit. Heaven is not finished with you yet, and soon the world will witness what God has been forming in private. Every time you share light, you multiply it. When you support, you strengthen the bridge for others still wandering in darkness. You are not just a listener, you are a vessel carrying hope forward. What you sow here in faith becomes the very echo that awakens another heart tomorrow. There comes a moment in your awakening when the greatest conflict no longer comes from the world around you, but from the world within you. You begin to notice two forces moving in opposite directions inside your spirit. One calls you toward peace, patience, and faith. The other pulls you toward fear, control, and reaction. You are standing between them, feeling the tension, feeling the pressure. This is not confusion, it is divine contrast. Heaven showing you what still needs to be healed. You have lived much of your life listening to both sides without realizing it. The quieter one, the voice of truth, always guided you toward stillness. The louder one, the voice of fear, pushed you to rush, to prove, to grasp at what was never meant for you. And now, in this sacred moment of awareness, heaven invites you not to fight the battle inside, but to see it clearly. When you can see the two forces, you are no longer controlled by either. That is the first step toward freedom. The prophet Jeremiah wrote of this struggle in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, verse 9. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? He was not condemning you. He was describing the human condition, the inner war that every soul must recognize to rise. The goal is not to destroy your lower nature. It is to bring it under alignment with spirit. You are not meant to hate the weaker parts of yourself. You are meant to love them into obedience. When you fight them with force, they hide. When you look at them with compassion, they heal. That is the secret of mastery. So this is your practice today. When you feel anger rising, don't judge it. Breathe and ask, what am I protecting? You'll often find that anger is only fear disguised as strength. When you see it for what it is, it loses power. When doubt whispers you are not ready, don't argue. Smile softly and respond. I may not be ready, but I am willing. That statement alone breaks the chain of self-sabotage, because willingness is stronger than certainty. When anxiety tightens your chest, place your hand over your heart and whisper, peace belongs here. Do not try to push the anxiety away. Breathe through it until it softens. The Spirit does not remove your storms immediately. He teaches you how to carry calm within them. When your mind begins to replay old pain, simply say, that's the old story. I'm not feeding it anymore. You cannot erase the past, but you can starve its voice by choosing not to retell it. Practice noticing without reacting. The part of you that notices both sides, the observer, is your higher self, your spirit, your divine awareness. That observer is where the Holy Spirit dwells. And when you anchor yourself there, no emotion, no thought, no temptation can pull you completely away from peace. Remember this truth: the war inside you is not between enemies, it's between unhealed versions of you. One part wants to keep you safe, the other wants to set you free. Do not curse either. Instead, guide them toward unity. Every moment of awareness becomes a sacred altar. When you pause and choose love instead of reaction, you are offering worship. When you breathe instead of lash out, you are saying, "Spirit, lead me." When you acknowledge your weakness without shame, heaven calls that humility, and humility always opens the door to grace. You are learning the art of spiritual balance, standing still between opposites and not collapsing into either. You don't have to silence your fear. You only need to stop obeying it. You don't have to erase doubt. You only need to remember it doesn't define you. And slowly, the two forces within you begin to shift. The voice of light grows stronger. The voice of fear grows faint. What once felt like chaos becomes clarity. You start making choices that reflect truth instead of trauma. This is not a one-time lesson, it is a lifelong rhythm. Some days you will stand firm, other days you will stumble. But even in the stumbling, awareness is victory. Each moment you notice the battle without running from it. The Spirit whispers, "Well done, you saw it." So today, don't try to win, just notice. Don't try to crush your darkness. Just stand in light long enough for it to dissolve on its own. The more you practice awareness, the quieter the war becomes. Until peace no longer visits you, it lives in you. Return to this exercise whenever confusion or conflict rises. Sit quietly, breathe, and remember you do not need to fight everything that stirs within you. You only need to stand on the side of truth and let the rest fall away. This is the practice of inner alignment, no violence, no resistance, just conscious choosing. That is where real power begins, in stillness, in clarity, in compassion. Let the two sides speak if they must, but let your spirit have the final word. And let that word always be peace. There is a quiet moment in every journey of transformation when something inside you finally clicks into place. It's not dramatic, not loud, not filled with fireworks or tears. It's simply a deep calm, knowing that says, "I'm no longer who I was." You can feel it in your posture, in your thoughts, in the way you breathe. The war that once consumed you has quieted. You are beginning to rise not by effort, but by alignment. You notice that peace no longer feels foreign. It's not something you have to chase. It finds you naturally. The chaos that once ruled your mind now feels distant, like a language you no longer speak. The heaviness you carried for years, the fear of being misunderstood, the weight of proving your worth has started to lift. You walk lighter, not because life got easier, but because your heart stopped fighting itself. This is the season of emergence, the holy moment when the inner transformation begins to show on the outside. Without even realizing it, your energy shifts. People around you start noticing. They can't quite explain it, but something about you feels different. Your presence brings calm. Your silence carries weight. Your eyes seem to hold both storm and sunrise. That's what it means to carry light. You don't have to announce it. It reveals itself. You begin to understand that true rising doesn't look like climbing ladders or chasing success. It looks like standing tall in truth, even when no one claps. It looks like smiling softly when old wounds try to reopen, because you know they no longer have permission to define you. Rising is not about noise, it's about depth. It's not about being seen, it's about being centered. You've learned to stop demanding that others understand your journey. They weren't meant to. Your transformation is sacred, an intimate conversation between you and heaven. Those who are meant to recognize your growth will do so without explanation. They will sense it in your spirit long before they see it in your actions. And for the first time in a long time, you feel gratitude not just for blessings, but for the breaking that brought you here. You thank God not only for what He gave, but for what He took away. The war that once consumed you has quieted. You are beginning to rise not by effort, but by alignment. The chaos that once ruled your mind now feels distant, like a language you no longer speak. The heaviness you carried for years, the fear of being misunderstood, the weight of proving your worth has started to lift. You walk lighter, not because life got easier, but because you know they no longer have permission to define you. You thank God not only for what He gave, but for what He took away. You understand now that every ending was mercy in disguise, every delay was protection, and every silence was an answer you didn't yet have language for. You stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and begin asking, "What was heaven teaching me through it?" That shift alone marks the maturity of your spirit. You've gone from reacting to reflecting, from rushing to resting, from questioning to trusting. That's the real rise, the rise of awareness, of peace, of divine partnership. You begin to live slower. You listen more. You notice the texture of moments that used to pass you by, the warmth of sunlight through your window, the sound of your own laughter, the quiet heartbeat that never stopped even in your darkest nights. Gratitude starts to weave itself into the fabric of your days. You no longer need miracles to feel God's presence. You see Him in the ordinary. And yet, this new strength does not make you proud, it makes you humble. You realize how fragile you once were, how easily you could have broken, and how gently heaven carried you through it all. That awareness keeps your heart soft. You don't look down on those still struggling, you look at them with compassion, remembering that once you too were crawling through the same darkness. This humility becomes your crown. It's quiet, invisible, but radiant. You no longer chase recognition because you found fulfillment in alignment. You've discovered that obedience is a greater honor than applause, and that inner peace is worth more than any public praise. The prophet Isaiah once wrote in chapter 60, verse 1, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." That is your present moment. The light is no longer coming, it's here. It's been growing inside you through every night you endured, every tear you shed, every silence you survived. The glory Isaiah spoke of doesn't fall from the sky, it awakens within those who choose to keep believing when there's no reason to. You are now walking proof that darkness cannot extinguish what heaven ignites. You are no longer trying to become light, you are light, and not the blinding kind that demands attention, but the steady flame that guides others quietly toward peace. This is your rising, and it's happening naturally. You don't have to force it, prove it, or defend it. Just keep walking in alignment. Keep breathing in grace. Keep letting light speak for you. The world will notice, but more importantly, heaven already has. Your becoming is complete not because you've reached perfection, but because you've learned to live in presence. And that chosen one is the real miracle that after all the breaking, all the battles, and all the silence, you still rise. With every rising, there comes responsibility. When the light in you grows stronger, heaven begins to entrust you with more. Not more possessions, not more applause, but more purpose. This new strength isn't for display, it's for service. You are no longer walking just for yourself, you're walking as an example of what grace can do. There's a subtle weight that comes with awakening. It's not a burden, it's an assignment. You start to feel it when others begin turning to you for peace, when people tell you your words calm their storms, or when your silence somehow brings order to chaos. That's how you know the mantle has shifted. You're no longer just learning, you're carrying. You've become a living message. But with that mantle comes a holy tension. You begin to sense that not everyone will understand what you carry. Some will admire it, others will resist it. That's why you must remain grounded not in pride, but in purity. The purpose of the anointing is not to elevate you above others, it's to reach those still trapped in the places you've been freed from. Heaven reminds us through the writings of David in the Psalms, chapter 78, verse 72. And David shepherded them with integrity of heart. With skillful hands he led them. That's your pattern now. Lead with integrity of heart, not hunger for validation. The same God who chose David from the field is choosing you from your obscurity. Not because of your perfection, but because of your posture. He saw how you remained faithful in private, how you chose kindness when it cost you comfort, how you kept praying when no one clapped. But now that you're carrying more, you must guard your spirit more. Every level of light attracts its own shadows. People will project expectations, question your motives, or even misunderstand your silence. Don't shrink, but don't argue either. The truly chosen don't need to prove their calling, they simply continue walking. You may feel pressure in this new season, the pressure to stay pure, the pressure to stay consistent, the pressure to stay gentle even when life shakes you. But remember, pressure is proof of purpose. Diamonds form under it, and so does destiny. Your calling will require discipline. You can no longer say yes to everything or everyone. Your peace is now sacred territory. You'll have to learn to say no without guilt, to rest without apology, to stay quiet when explanation would be easier. These are the silent practices that keep your anointing sharp. There will be moments when your heart feels heavy, not from sin, but from sensitivity. You'll begin to feel what others can't, see what others ignore. You'll sense burdens before words are spoken. That's the cost of carrying light. It awakens empathy. But remember, you are not meant to absorb everyone's pain. You are called to intercede, not to drown. So practice sacred boundaries. Know when to pour and when to pause. The same spirit that calls you to serve will also call you to stillness. Learn to listen to both. Power without rest becomes burnout. Compassion without wisdom becomes exhaustion. Your calling is a rhythm, not a race. And as you step deeper into this purpose, heaven begins to trust you with influence, not worldly fame, but spiritual weight. You'll notice that when you speak truth, it lingers. When you walk into a room, peace follows. When you pray, atmospheres shift. These are signs that your alignment is working. You've become a vessel heaven can flow through freely. But never forget where it all began, those lonely nights, those tears, those hidden prayers. The power you carry now was born in pain, and humility must remain its guardian. If pride ever whispers, remember the light you shine is borrowed, not owned. You are a reflection, not the source. Now, if this word resonates deeply, I want you to pause and type, "I will carry." Let that sentence be your response to heaven, not as performance, but as covenant. When you write, "I will carry," you're not saying, "I'll handle it alone." You're saying, "I will carry this light faithfully, with humility, with integrity." It's a declaration of readiness, not arrogance. You're telling heaven, "I will carry peace when the world stirs chaos. I will carry forgiveness where bitterness wants to bloom. I will carry faith when fear tries to reign." Because being chosen is not about shining in comfort, it's about standing in conviction. It's about showing grace when you could show ego, about staying gentle when you could harden. It's about letting your life preach louder than your words ever could. And so, as you move forward from this moment, remember the weight you feel is not punishment. It's purpose pressing itself into your bones. Heaven trusts you enough to give you something heavy. Because you've proven that you won't carry it for your glory, you'll carry it for His. Walk with that quiet confidence. You don't have to announce your mantle. Your peace will reveal it. You don't have to demand respect. Your consistency will earn it. You don't have to prove your calling. Your endurance will testify. You are becoming a vessel of responsibility, chosen not for comfort, but for impact. And as you continue to rise, may every step you take echo this truth: you are carrying something holy, and heaven is walking with you. There is a strange moment in every spiritual awakening when life starts to feel familiar again. but in a different way. You walk into places that once drained you and realize they no longer have power over you. You hear the same words that used to wound you, but they only echo faintly now. Something inside you has changed. You've outgrown the pain that once defined you. This new stage of your journey is not about discovering something brand new. It's about recognizing what has always been there but hidden beneath layers of fear, guilt, and survival. You are being invited to notice the familiar, the quiet nudges, the repeated patterns, the sensations that rise again and again. Heaven is speaking through them, reminding you that spiritual growth isn't about escaping your humanity, it's about redeeming it. You may have noticed déjà vu moments lately, scenes, faces, or feelings that feel like repetitions of an old season. It's not coincidence. Heaven uses familiar situations to measure your maturity. The same kind of storm returns, not to break you, but to reveal how much stronger you've become. What used to trigger panic now only stirs reflection. What used to hurt deeply now only hums softly, like a memory you've made peace with. According to what is revealed in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1, verse 9, what has been will be again. What has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Those words remind you that the cycles of life are not punishments, they are invitations to respond differently. When a familiar feeling surfaces, don't rush to escape it. Pause. Notice it. Ask, where have I felt this before? That question alone transforms reaction into revelation. This is your next spiritual practice, recognition. You see, every emotion carries a memory, and every memory carries a message. When sadness visits, it's not an intruder, it's a messenger saying, something in you still wants to be seen. When frustration rises, it's not failure, it's feedback that alignment is needed. When peace feels distant, it's not abandonment, it's heaven asking you to return to presence. You are learning to see familiar feelings as teachers instead of threats. They arrive not to punish you, but to prepare you. You cannot heal what you refuse to notice. So pay attention to your body, to your reactions, to the way your breath changes when certain names are mentioned or certain memories arise. That's not random. That's revelation. You are being trained to read your emotional landscape the way prophets read signs in the sky. The Spirit speaks through subtlety. You won't always hear thunder or see fire. Sometimes, the divine message hides inside an ordinary sigh, a tightening in your chest, a recurring dream, a conversation that echoes something you thought you'd already resolved. Don't rush past these familiar moments. Slow down. Ask what they are trying to tell you. Maybe that recurring disappointment isn't proof that you're unlucky, it's proof that heaven wants to teach you boundaries. Maybe that same type of relationship that keeps failing isn't a curse, it's a classroom where you're meant to practice discernment. Maybe that restlessness that comes every few months isn't confusion, it's the soul's reminder that comfort can quietly become captivity. This is the art of awareness, not running from the familiar, but redeeming it. You are learning to recognize patterns not with shame, but with wisdom. The same feelings that once sent you into panic can now become portals of peace if you stay long enough to listen to what they're saying. So today, here is your sacred exercise when something feels familiar, whether it's an emotion, a memory, or even a recurring situation. Don't label it as bad. Instead, breathe. Let yourself feel it fully without resistance. Then ask, what is heaven trying to show me this time? That single question shifts everything. You move from reaction to revelation, from fear to curiosity, from avoidance to awareness. And when you practice this often, life itself becomes a conversation with God. Every feeling becomes a sentence. Every repetition becomes a reminder that you are being refined, not punished. You will start to notice how peace returns faster, how pain no longer lingers as long, how gratitude rises even in places that once felt unbearable. That is what growth looks like, not perfection, but quicker recovery. You recognize the lesson earlier. You forgive sooner. You release faster. When a familiar heaviness comes, don't panic. Smile softly and say, "I know this feeling. I've met you before." Welcome it as an old teacher visiting to see how much you've learned. Sit with it. Listen to it, and let it leave when its message is delivered. That is emotional maturity wrapped in spiritual grace. Over time, the same storms that used to shake you will simply remind you of how deeply you've anchored. You'll walk through echoes of your past with eyes wide open and heart unafraid. You'll see clearly that you were never meant to avoid repetition, you were meant to outgrow it. So practice recognition today. Don't fight what feels familiar, explore it. Don't numb the feeling, name it. Don't rush away from it. Rest with it until understanding arrives. Every familiar emotion carries a divine fingerprint. When you learn to see God in repetition, you begin to experience peace that no pattern can disturb. And soon you'll realize the truth: nothing new needs to happen for your life to feel new. Awareness alone changes everything. The journey has brought you here to the threshold of recognition and revelation. You can feel it, can't you? The air around your spirit has shifted. You are standing between what was and what will be, carrying the quiet strength of one who has walked through fire and come out shining. You have learned to listen to silence, to breathe through change, and to recognize yourself as the living proof that transformation is real. Think of yourself as a tree after a long winter. You do not rush to bloom. You simply open when the sun says it's time. The seasons have taught you patience. The storms have taught you stability. And now, without effort, new leaves are forming. Not because you forced them, but because you endured. Heaven has been sculpting you in secret, layer by layer, teaching you resilience through delay, compassion through heartbreak, wisdom through waiting. The lessons that once broke you are now the very tools that build you. Every scar on your heart has become scripture written in experience, each one whispering, "You survived what was meant to silence you." According to what is revealed in the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. That peace is your reward. It doesn't always come with answers, it comes with assurance. You no longer need to know how everything will unfold. You've learned to trust the rhythm of divine timing. The same God who began this transformation will complete it, and every step you take now carries the fragrance of faith. But hear this truth gently: peace is not the end. It's the platform. From this peace, heaven will send you back into the world, not as who you were, but as who you've become. You are no longer the seeker, you are the signal. Your life is the message, and that message deserves to travel further than your own heart. If these words have stirred something in you, if they have reminded you of who you truly are, then take a moment to like this message. Not as routine, but as a way of saying, "I receive this truth." Each like becomes a silent amen, a digital echo of faith sent out into the atmosphere. Share it too. You never know whose midnight will be lit by the spark of your obedience. Somewhere, there's someone still standing in the dark part of their story, wondering if light will ever return. When you share, you extend the flame. You become the messenger who says it will get better. Keep breathing. Keep believing. If this journey has given you strength, Consider staying close to this stream of words. Subscribe not to a channel, but to the flow of divine reminders that keep you aligned. It's like choosing to stay near a steady river, so whenever your soul feels dry, the waters of encouragement are right there, waiting. And if your heart feels moved, if you've been fed by this space and wish to help keep it alive for others, then donate as an act of gratitude. Not payment, but partnership. Your giving becomes the invisible hands that carry hope into places this voice cannot reach alone. Think of it as planting a tree under whose shade someone else will one day rest. Finally, before you leave this moment, take a breath and let your gratitude rise. If something in this message has found you at the right time, if it has calmed a storm within you, I invite you to comment below. Write just one sentence from your heart. Maybe it's "I'm grateful." Maybe it's "I'm ready." Whatever truth your spirit wants to speak, write it. Your words might be the rope that pulls someone else out of their pit. You see, this message was never meant to stop with you. It was meant to move through you, to ripple outward, to awaken others, to remind the world that there is light even after loss, and purpose even after pain. And now, as this chapter draws to a close, pause for a moment and look at who you've become. The person reading this is not the same one who began the journey. You've walked through fire and learned how to glow without burning. You've stood in silence and learned how to hear heaven's whisper. You've lost much, but gained something that cannot be taken: clarity, peace, and unshakable faith. Let this be your final realization. You are the living proof of divine endurance. The world will see your calm and never know the chaos that built it. They will hear your voice and never guess how many nights it took to find it. But heaven knows, and heaven smiles. Your story is no longer about surviving, it's about shining. So go now, radiant one. Walk gently, speak truthfully, love fiercely, and live like someone who knows the difference between being alive and truly living. The transformation is complete, but your journey is just beginning. And now, as the echoes of this message begin to fade, take a quiet breath. Let what you've heard today settle softly into your spirit, not as noise, but as nourishment. You don't have to understand every word or remember every phrase. Transformation doesn't happen in the mind. First, it begins in the heart. If anything from this journey has stayed with you, let it be this: you are in a process that is holy. Every uncertainty, every pause, every quiet realization is part of something greater unfolding. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply becoming. Maybe tonight, instead of reaching for your phone one more time, you'll close your eyes and whisper a small prayer of gratitude. Maybe tomorrow, when life feels heavy again, you'll remember that strength is not in rushing, but in remaining. Maybe next week, when you meet a familiar challenge, you'll pause and think, "I've been here before, but I'm different now." That's what this message was meant to do, not to impress you, but to remind you, to help you remember your own strength, to help you see that heaven has never left. That purpose still breathes through ordinary days. And that peace is not somewhere far away, it's already inside you, waiting to be noticed. So as you leave this space, carry this light with you. Let your calm become comfort for someone else. Let your growth become proof that healing is possible. And when you're ready, come back. There will always be another word, another whisper, another reminder that you are not alone on this journey. Until then, keep breathing, keep believing, and keep becoming the version of yourself even heaven smiles upon.